Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. An up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 18 years, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show. Well, we're meeting with Sergei Kaminskiy, and Sergei's journey began as a recent immigrant to the United States when he founded Kaminskiy Care and Repair, a small San Diego-based business specializing in home improvements and repairs. Over the past 20 years, Sergei has transformed his modest operation into one of Southern California's most recognized brand names. At Kaminskiy Care and Repair, they believe that your home is more than just a place to live. It's your sanctuary. I'm going to talk to Sergei about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, and you are listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
We like to always ask, where are our guests calling from today?
San Diego, California.
That's fantastic. Lucky you. I'm in Easton, Pennsylvania, and it's interesting. I know you're no stranger to cold, Sergei. I am, because I've been studying your background for quite some time now. And usually when I do these interviews, we typically go right into the franchise. But for you, I wanted to kind of go back to when you were a young child, because I sense that your culture and your family had a lot to do with your success. Maybe you could talk about where you're originally from and when you came to the United States.
Sure. So I was born in Siberia, Russia. My dad is half Ukrainian. My mom is half Russian. And so, they're born in Siberia, Russia with the polar bears. It's really, really cold. I came here when I was just 7 years old, so I was just a kid. But it was a drastic change, right? It was a drastic change in culture, definitely in temperature, right, and weather. So, my dad started doing business and started doing import-export when he got here, and I saw him doing business on a small small scale. We grew up in very humble beginnings next to Oakland, California. Grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment, sharing a room with 2 of my sisters, and went to some of the rougher schools, in the East Bay area of California. But seeing my dad, having a business and having that freedom is what really motivated me to go into business for myself.
Yeah, there was it was interesting. There was a story you were telling too. It really kind of touched me because it reminded me of my grandfather when he came to this country. He came from northern Africa, and it was first day of work. He couldn't even speak the language, and I think your dad had a similar situation, didn't he, Sergei?
Yeah, he had to start from the very bottom, right? He had to start from the very beginning, and it was a huge sacrifice, Marty, for them to leave where they are. I mean, they were doing very well for himself. He was very well educated.
Right.
He was doing really, really good back home, and this is a sacrifice they made for the family. This is a sacrifice because they wanted us to have the opportunity that they never had, and coming here was starting from scratch. It was basically starting from the very, very beginning, and not knowing the language was very, very difficult for them. Yeah. So they paved the way for us, essentially, is what I like to say, and they gave us the opportunity. And now it's our turn to help them, and our turn to give back to them and support them. And I love my dad, love my mom. Yeah. We have a great relationship with them.
That's wonderful.
It's amazing. And he raised really good kids. Both of my sisters are also amazing entrepreneurs, and they all have a great relationship with him. So he's blessed. He has quite a few grandkids now running around, and he's in a happy place now.
That's wonderful. I love this story, Sergei. As I was reading about your life, and I said, wow. I said this would make a great book one day, And for you, it's interesting though too, because I think even like at a young age, I read someplace, and I can't remember where it was, but I thought you were like selling, was it magazines, like when you were in 7th grade or something like that? You were an entrepreneur way back when, weren't you?
Yeah. So this is a funny story, because when I was just in 7th grade, I bought a lot of little like pixie sticks, from the grocery outlet, and I'd buy them in bulk, Marty, and then I would come home and I would break up the package and I would wrap them into 5, 10, and 20 batches, and then I would go and sell them during a recess, and the business was doing great until I got called out of class. I got called out of class. The principal called me into the office, said, "Sergei, no more selling candy because we got your wrappers all over the schoolyard." and so I said, "Okay, no more selling candy." But I mean, it was everything from washing cars to going around and cutting people's lawns, and I mean, it was just it was hustle from day one, and failure was not an option. And I always liked the chase, and I always liked doing something new and making money, man. That's one of my favorite activities.
I think it's wonderful, Sergei. And it's interesting. So I'm curious. At some point in your life, it seems like you steered towards construction and remodeling. I mean, was that something like of a passion, or I know you kind of worked in the industry too, didn't you?
Yes, so I moved to San Diego when I was just 19. I moved to San Diego when I was just 18 years old. Okay. And moved to Rancho Santa Fe, working for a remodeling company there. And started out as a laborer working in the field, doing basic labor work. And I saw the guys that were running the business, and I had a lot of respect for them just because I saw them grinding and I saw them hustling and doing it the right way. But I thought to myself, I can do that. That's something that I can do. And my wife and I got married. I was just 19 years old. Wow. And we ended up having there was a time where we had $70 in the bank account, so we really we were struggling financially, and I couldn't go to my parents, I couldn't go anywhere and ask them, because it was just I felt like it was my responsibility to provide for the family. And so I told my wife, I said, listen, what I do know is that I can do some handyman work. I said, why don't we go print some flyers? And that we did. We went to a club room at our apartment complex and printed out some flyers, and I remember like it was yesterday. It's pouring rain outside. My wife is driving, and I'm running door to door, and I'm passing out flyers and just hoping that somebody would call us. And they did. One person called. It was out of 25 flyers, one person called, and that was my first project. And so when I did that one job, I said, I can do it again. So what we did was we started waking up 3-4 in the morning on Saturdays, because I still had a full-time job. And I would go on Saturdays with my wife, and we would go run and pass out flyers door to door on the weekends with hope that somebody would call us.
Right.
And we just kept doing that weekend in, weekend out, and we just kept doing that over and over and over. And that's how we built our business. Literally, that's how we built our business.
Yeah, I love this story, Sergei. And I had a whole timeline for your life. So, at some point then, you created Kaminskiy Care and Repair, and that was quite a while ago, wasn't it? I guess it was almost 2 decades ago, wasn't it?
It was in 2005. March of 2005 is when we launched our handyman business. And again, I was just 19 years old, launched the business, and I got my shirts printed up with the company logo on it. I put some decals on the truck, and I got some business cards, and I always was about representing myself in the best way possible. And I started going out and looking at some of these jobs and estimating them, and then I would hire someone to go and do the work. And so I was able to go successfully estimate the project, because these projects, Marty, they're not huge home remodels, right? We're talking about patching some drywall. We're talking about installing some baseboards, maybe installing a ceiling fan, replacing some lights. The easy jobs. They're like the honey-do list, right? Things that, the man of the house, busy businessman, entrepreneur, professional, attorney, doctor, he doesn't have time for that. And so the wife calls and says, hey, I need this stuff done. It's a honey-do list. And that's what we would do. We would come in and, get those small tasks done for them. Yeah, so that was my segue into business. That was the segue. That's how I got into it.
And the business became very successful too, Sergei. And then at some point, at what point did you know that, you were ready to, take that concept and you said, you know what, I can actually franchise this concept? When did you know?
So this is interesting, because I ended up having a business mentor that I met actually through the handyman business. I was passing out flyers, and I put a flyer on a door, and one guy called me. He goes, hey, my name is Bob Strahl, and he goes, I have some handyman work that needs to be done. And I went out there, and we really hit it off with him. So that guy became my business mentor. He was really, really sharp, just really, really good businessman. And he always told me, as years went on, Marty, I started chasing the big remodels, big projects. So, from the day I started the handyman, fast forward 3 years, I started getting into more of the kitchen, bath remodels, bigger home remodels, right? And we started doing that very, very well. And that was very appealing to me at the time. I'm 22 years old. I started doing TV advertising, so I'm on television. Now I'm starting to get these bigger projects, and I started chasing these bigger dollar ticket items for these remodels. And then, but the whole time, every time I would meet with my business mentor, Bob Strahl, he would say, Sergei, there's something about this handyman business. Don't let it go. Something about it. And my dad would tell me the same thing. He said, son, don't let go of that handyman business. Something is special about that business, And so even though I was doing these multi-million-dollar remodels, every time one of my previous customers would call to go replace a light bulb or, replace a doorknob or whatever, I would always go and service those customers, because for me, I was like, that's my fallback plan. Because I knew that was a recession-proof business. Those are necessity items that always have to be done in a home, because people may not always be able to afford a luxury home remodel, but people always need to take care of the most valuable asset, which is their home.
That's right.
They need to just do the necessities. It's not a luxury vacation. It's not buying a fancy car. These are taking care of your most valuable asset, right? And so so I kept it going the entire time until in 2022, I'm driving and I'm thinking, man, I think that we could scale this thing. One of my friends called me and said, Sergei, I want to get into your industry. And he goes, he owned a successful car dealership in the Bay Area. And he called me and goes, I want to get into your industry. And I said, listen, why don't we open up a Kaminskiy location there for the handyman? And he goes, I'd be honored to. I said, great, let's do it. So we opened up that location, and I started kind of teaching him and mentoring him. We started opening that location, and at that moment, I realized that what we have is truly so special. Because here I was able to take someone who doesn't have any experience in construction, and I was able to provide a segue for him, just like I did when I was 19 years old, to get into that space and start doing the home improvement jobs on a very small level, but doing it successfully, making money, and acquiring a lot of customers in a very short period of time. And at that point, it was like a light bulb that went off spinoff, and I said, we could definitely duplicate this. We could franchise this. This is an amazing business model.
Right.
There are so many good things about it. It's, so I called a friend of mine, and him and I, we did another business venture together. We actually, I was one of the investors where we bought a multi-location dental firm, and then he scaled it. He grew it to more location, and we've since exited that. But I knew that this guy would think big, right? And so I called him and I said, hey, Olaide, I said, listen, here's an idea. Here's what I have in mind. What do you think? And he said, I'm in, right? And so for the last 2 years, we've been developing the processes, the systems, basically extracting information from my head, surgically extracting information from my head, putting it on paper, making systems and processes around it so we could duplicate it. And so we're here now. Now we have 5 locations. We have one in East Bay. We have one in Portland. We have one in Orange County, one in Beverly Hills. So it's an amazing model. It's truly an amazing business model.
It is an amazing model, and that's, something you were saying was, I think you realized too, I guess when the light bulb went off, Sergei, is that this was something teachable, because it sounds like, as you said, that one gentleman really had no experience, so it kind of leads me to, and I also want to talk, by the way, about, because at some point then Kaminskiy Home Design and Remodeling came into play too, didn't it? That's something that you're working on now, isn't it?
Well, we have 3 divisions within the Kaminskiy Group.
There's 3 divisions.
Right? So we have the Kaminskiy Care and Repair, which is the model that we're franchising currently. We have the Kaminskiy Design Remodeling and Kaminskiy Commercial Construction. Yeah. The goal is that what we're doing, Marty, is we're scaling the Kaminskiy Care and Repair, which is the handyman model. We're scaling that across the nation. We're going to have 400 locations across America. And then after we have those locations spread out, we're going to start launching Kaminskiy Kitchen and Bath. So each franchisee that owns the Kaminskiy Care and Repair handyman business is going to be able to say, I want a kitchen and bath one as well. Because what's going to happen, that's the natural growth trajectory. That's what happened in my life. I know exactly what's going to happen with these franchisees. They're going to start acquiring a lot of customers in their local area. So, for instance, our East Bay location has over 2,000 paying customers in just a short 2 years. Wow. So now what's going to happen is these customers are going to start reaching out to the franchisee, and they're going to start saying, hey, listen, can you do my kitchen remodel? Can you do my bathroom remodel? Because you have the technicians, you have the skill, you can do it. And we like working with the brand. So that's the natural growth trajectory. That's what happened here, right? So I know that layer of kitchen and bath is going to be very, very lucrative for every franchisee, and they're going to get the right of first refusal. If they already own a Kaminskiy Care and Repair, they're going to be able to say, hey, I want one, and we're going to sell them a Kaminskiy Kitchen and Bath as well.
What's interesting for you too, Sergei, is I've seen over the years. I mean, so you've won. It's a lot of awards. You were named San Diego's Best Home Remodeler. I mean, what are all these awards attributed to? What do you think? So what is that attributed to?
When we started the business, we were never the low price leader. I never wanted to design a business model about being the cheapest player in town. That was not my strategy. My strategy was always built around providing amazing value to our customers, standing behind quality, integrity, customer service, not only treating our customers right, but also treating our employees the right way, right? So we have a truly strong culture within the organization. And, I mean, people love us, Marty. People love us. People recommend us to their friends and family. They come back for more work. We do a remodel. Today, we'll be doing another remodel for these people 5 or 10 years from now, right? And so it's just about doing the business the right way. We never go and we're never in the bloodbath to try to get the lowest price to the customer. We provide value. We stand for the value. We provide a great product. And our customers are willing to pay it all day long because they know what they're doing is they're opening up the doors to their more sacred place, which is their home.
That's right.
That's where their kids sleep at night. That's where their wife lies down at night. That's where they're at night. So it's so much different than going out to a restaurant or to a mechanic shop because you're going outside of your home. When you're opening up the doors to your home, you want a good company in there. You want somebody who's running the background checks, who's vetting all of the employees that are going in, doing the due diligence on the subcontractors. It's something, not if or when something something goes wrong on a job, we're there fixing it, and we're doing it the right way, right? So that's the difference. That's the difference, and people recognize that. And you're right. There's thousands of contractors in San Diego, thousands.
Right.
And you know what? There's only about 2 or 3 that are at the top, and we're one of them, right?
That's
so
amazing.
It's just kind of like, it's really just, I mean, that's it. We stand out from the crowd, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We definitely stand out from the crowd.
It's very impressive, Sergei. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because I'm curious, like, how you're using technology in your business today. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about too is like social media. I feel like you have this obscene amount of Instagram followers. It's like it's incredible. So I want to talk to you. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, or even like how you're using technology today within the business.
Well, technology, social media. So I mean, we're leveraging everything we can, right? So I'm a true believer that you have to embrace change. You have to embrace change. I remember the time, since we started 20 years ago, I've tried every form of marketing that's out there under the sun. Like literally everything. I've done it. Yeah. Everything from TV to radio to the yellow pages when it was still here, to newspapers and all of the above. So you have to embrace change. We all have to embrace change, and if we don't embrace change, it's going to be very difficult to compete. Because, so one of the things for sure is like social media is a huge tool, and I mean it's a global reach, and so I see it, I know it, I realize it, and I understand the social media game very, very well, and I have a great team working on all of our accounts. So yes, like our my personal channel, we have great following, we have great engagement, but then you also look at my business channels, right? I want all of our franchisees to benefit from what I know, what I understand. You understand what I mean? Like, that's where the world is going. If you look at all of the teenagers, people in their young 20s right now, they're on Instagram. They're sitting there scrolling. Well, guess what? 5-10 years from now, they'll be the homeowners. They will be the ones that are going to us, and they'll be the ones buying our product. So if we don't look into the future, if we don't start plowing the seed now and sowing the seed now, then you know what? We're not going to reap the benefits later. So we are looking ahead for sure, and utilizing technology in different ways, right? I mean, before I used to have to hold company meetings in person. I mean, now we hold a daily morning huddle with all of our technicians in every office that we have, and we do it via Zoom, via Facebook, right? So it's so nice. Obviously, we have the latest and the greatest scheduling software, estimation software. I mean, we use ChatGPT. We use ChatGPT-4. We use it all the time, and in every way possible. I tell my team the biggest challenge that we have, Marty, is not having the tools. It's forgetting that we have the tool. I find myself doing things manually sometimes, and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Why am I even wasting brain cells on this? And I've done it so many times where I'm like, we need to not forget that we have these tools at our disposal. Absolutely, man. And we're living in the future, Marty. I mean, this is it's such an amazing time to be alive, man. It's such an amazing time to be alive.
I'm so glad you said that, right? Because I think the same thing, Sergei. I think it is. It's a wonderful time. Even this whole, you mentioned ChatGPT. There's some franchises I heard they're kind of like they're uploading like their operations manual, and it's so if someone has a question at 2 a.m, they just go on ChatGPT and it's right there. And that's incredible. Whoever thought that something like that was going to happen, right? I mean, it's just
unbelievable. And we're only scratching the surface, right? It's only scratching the surface, and what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years is just unbelievable. It's interesting, man. It's interesting.
I totally agree, Sergei. So here's a tough question for you, because I know you've had thousands of experiences, but what's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you since launching Kaminskiy Care and Repair, Sergei? If you could narrow it down to one thing, which would be tough, but does anything stand out over the years where you just say, wow, or oh my God, I can't believe it?
Yes, it's the realization that we could take an ordinary person with not a huge degree of knowledge in construction or management and make them successful in this business. To me, that realization is like the most phenomenal things. And we talk about it with my business partner all the time, and we say we're going to make a lot of millionaires. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like, I love entrepreneurship. I could sit there and talk about business from sunrise to sunset, and I don't get tired, man. I mean, like, literally, I just love the concept of entrepreneurship. And for me now, where I am in my life, to be able to take other people along on the journey with me, you know, the people that have been thinking about starting a business maybe for a decade or two. And the reality, Marty, the older someone gets, the less the risk tolerance becomes. And they probably have a mortgage, they probably have kids, they have a wife, they have bills to pay, and they're so set in doing it the way that they used to do it. And so for us to be able to come up with a strategy and a business model where we could take someone who wants to be, we call them an entrepreneur, they want to be an entrepreneur,
I like that,
but they're just not able to make that leap of faith unless they go into a proven system and a proven model. And we could take someone like that and make them successful. To me, that light bulb, when that went on, that was the biggest, like, transformation, like, change to me. And I was like, wow, we could make so many people successful. We could literally change so many lives and help people achieve the American dream. You know, it's phenomenal. I'm telling you, man, like, almost anyone could do it. Like I say, if they have the will, if they have the grit, the desire, I'm not saying it's easy, Marty, right? I'm not saying that this is a get-rich-quick scheme, because it's not. This is a lot of real work. It's going to be times where these people are going to want to give up. It's hard. There's times where it's frustrating, but there's also those times where they're going to experience great victory. And at the end of the day, they're building something of value. We talk about this all the time, but it's like when we play a game, for instance, I love Monopoly, right? Monopoly is a great game. Like, you know, and when you play, I choose to play Monopoly for fun, right? I'm not doing it to make money, obviously. Right? But during the game of Monopoly, we experience all kinds of emotions, right? We experience the joys where we're like, yes, I had a good roll and I'm doing, I'm doing this, that, and then other times you're like so frustrated and you're like, man, this sucks, and so you sometimes you experience the joy, sometimes you experience a little bit of the anger, a little bit of frustration, and then you experience this victory. So you go through all of these emotions, and it's a game. It's Monopoly. To me, business is exactly the same way, right? Just because we're doing it, we're doing it for fun. We're doing it because we love it. But it doesn't mean it's always, roses, right? And it's always so there is the good and the bad, and you take all of it and you keep moving. But at the end of the game, at the end of the day, it is a game, and you look at it as a game. Life is a game, right? Life is a game.
It's true, and it's great. It's nice to interview someone that's so passionate, Sergei, about their brand. I love that term, by the way. I have never. It's funny. I've studied entrepreneurship. I've been doing the show so many years. I've never heard the term wantrepreneur. I said that's very clever. That is. I don't know if you came up with it, but it's brilliant, because I agree with you. There's a lot of people that I know that would, and sometimes in their 50s, they would like to go into their own business, but they're terrified, and they're afraid.
100%.
I got a mortgage, I got kids in college, I'm not willing to take a chance. And what I love about your model is that you could practically take anybody and show them how to do it, and I think that's why this model is so franchisable. I'm curious, do you have any types of characteristics that you look for, Sergei, in your franchisees, where you kind of say, okay, this person's a match, but maybe this person's not a match for what we do?
Absolutely, right? So first and foremost, we need someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, right? Someone who wants to go into business for themselves. The desire has to be there, right? It's not something that can be forced on someone. We're all made different. Everyone is a little bit different, but there's about 18 to 20% of people that are in that entrepreneur category that say, I want to be in business for myself. So that's important. The desire has to be there. They have to have the grit, right? They have to be able to be hardworking individuals. They need to be able to follow a system and a model. So we're looking for someone that can join the team and start utilizing the recipes that we've developed that come out and they make you successful, right? Because we've tested them, we've tried them, we know what works, what doesn't work. We've tested them for the last 20 years. And the thing is, we want every franchisee to succeed. So we're going to give them all of the systems, the processes, the mentorship, because we want to make them a success story. Right? So management is always a plus. If they had some management experience in the past, that's always a plus. It's not a requirement. If they have some home improvement experience in the past, it's a plus, but it's not a requirement. You know, so there are some, most importantly, they just need to want it, Marty. I mean, if the desire is there, if they align. It's interesting because when you look at franchising in general, someone starting a business without a franchise model, a successful franchise model, then their chances of success are very slim. In the first 10 years, I mean, there are studies out there that it shows it's only about 10 to 20% success rate in the first 10 years. So that means 80 to 90% of businesses go out of business in the first 10 years. When you're buying into a successful franchise model, those numbers actually flip. So your success rate becomes 80 to 90%, and your failure rate is only 10 to 20%. So going into a model that's proven, that's tested, and you have the backing and the support of a team that's built over years behind you is a huge value. It's a huge value because it's going to help you avoid those serious pitfalls. Yes, you're going to make a mistake here and there. Every business owner does, and that's normal. But what we help you avoid are those real huge mistakes that could potentially put you out of business. So
that's well said. That's well said, Sergei. What would the training be like then, Sergei? As the brand continues to evolve and gets bigger and bigger, what will the training be like? I mean, will they come out to corporate headquarters? Like, how will that work, Sergei?
Yes, so we have a discovery day which is optional. It's not mandatory. So someone can actually get started because we record videos for everything. Again, talking about utilizing technology and making things more efficient. So we have a great training program designed with all of the modules and tests and everything in there that you're going to go through as a franchisee. It's about a 4 to 6 week training program. You can get started literally in that time frame. In the meantime, we're also they can if they want do a discovery day. We always welcome it. It's absolutely they can if they want to fly out, and we're going to spend a day at our office here at our headquarters, and we're going to drive them around a few job sites, and we're going to show them not only the handyman jobs, we're also going to show them the design and remodeling projects as well, because we want to kind of show them where they're going to end up going, and we want to start stretching their mind and showing them this is where you could be in the next 3 to 5 years, right? And so, yes, and then after they start, we usually encourage that they call in at least once or twice a week for a 30-minute to an hour session, and make sure that we're going through the paperwork with them. We're looking at the numbers, and we're saying, okay, hey, you should do this. One of the biggest things that I found with the locations that we have so far is getting the managing partners, the franchisees, out of working in the business and working on the business. And it's a big struggle that a lot of people have. They want to get into the trenches themselves. They think, hey, I have a car and I can go to Home Depot and pick up that ladder and deliver it to the job site because I can do it. I'm going to go and do it. And when I hear of those things, I always tell our managing guys, I'm saying, listen, that's not what you're supposed to be doing, because my dream for all of these franchisees is we design a model where they have a business that works for them. So they take on the role of truly a manager-operator, right? Instead of being in the trenches and doing the grunt work. So to me, I always say, look, if you don't have a business that's running with you being able to leave for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and it's still running, you really don't have a business. So if you have to be there daily, it's not really a business yet, right? I mean, it's almost like a job, right? Because you have to be there. You have to be working in the business instead of working on the business. And where we want to get every franchisee is we want to get them to the point to where they could truly have an operational business with them, managing it maybe 10-20% of the time, and it's running on its own because they have an operations manager in place, they have an estimating manager in place, they have a service manager in place, and now that is running and it's cash flowing for them. To me, that's truly a successful business model. Now, it doesn't happen overnight, right? It's gonna take several years for them to build out the right team. It's gonna take several years for them. They're gonna have to work very, very hard to get there. But that's where we want them to be. That's where my business is. That's where every division of Kaminskiy could function without me being here.
That's amazing.
Because we've set it up that way.
Right. I'm picturing, it's probably one of your aha moments too, because again, I've been studying your whole background, and it was probably one of your aha moments too, because I think maybe, Sergei, as a young person, you were working in the business, and then at some point in your life, you said, okay, now I need to work on the business, and as you said, to have the ability to, not even go into the office for 3 weeks, you can go away with your wife and your family to the islands, and the business is still running. There's a great book. I don't know if you ever read it. It's by Michael Gerber, called The E-Myth, and he was on our show, and he talks a lot about that too. But
great book.
It is. It's so powerful what you said there. And I think it's fantastic. Here's a tough question for you, because when I first got into this podcast, Sergei, way back when, there was only about 1,200 different systems in the United States to choose from, and I saw the recent numbers, and now they're saying there's 4,000 different systems, franchise systems in the U.S. to choose from, and so we find with our listeners, they're a little bit overwhelmed in the beginning. They're like, oh my God, where do I even begin? I know I want to get into franchising, but how do I get started? I mean, from everything you've learned up to this point in your life, even about franchising, what advice would you give to our listeners, let's say in their quest to buy a franchise? How do they do it?
Well, I would look at a couple of things, right? Get into something where you think you can excel at.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the train of thought where people say, do what you love, do what you love. I mean, you have to kind of enjoy it, but I think that you really have to look at, hey, what am I going to be good at? What can I make money at, right? I'm all about making money, so I'm okay with doing some things that maybe I don't enjoy as much, but I know that that's the pathway for me to be successful.
Right.
And I also want to say you're going to have to work hard, right?
Yeah.
Have realistic expectations of what it's going to take to make your business successul. Because if it's truly a business, it's not a get rich quick scheme.
Right.
You have the models, you have all of the guidelines to stay within, but you're going to have to go and do the work, right? You're still going to have to do the work, and the first 2 to 3 years is going to be a grind, right? It's going to be a grind. But it's so worth it, It's like that saying they say, I've never seen someone work as hard as an entrepreneur, but I've never seen an entrepreneur wanting to go work for someone else.
Yes.
Because the way you look at the time changes when you go from an employee mindset to an employer mindset. And so, also, I would look at where the market projections are going for whatever business you're looking at. One of the things that I love about the home improvement, home services business, it's on the up trajectory.
Yeah.
It's a $540 billion market now. By 2033, it's on track to be $720 billion market. So,
that's incredible.
There is momentum, there is backwind going into it. What I also love about this model is that it's AI proof, right?
Yeah.
So there's not going to be robots that are going to be going into custom homes and custom houses to do these tasks. And when there are robots coming into custom homes doing this, we're going to be buying those robots. And so those franchisees are still protected because what our job is, is to connect the homeowner with the proper technician or robot to get the work done, right? So that's the business we're in. So it's a recession-proof business. It's an AI-proof business. It's those things I love about this model.
Wow, that's a great response, Sergei. Because a lot of times when I ask the question, I'll get the typical, someone says, "Oh, well, just do something you're passionate about." And what you're saying is, okay, passion is good, but it's really not enough. You should be looking towards, the industry. Look at the growth of the industry.
100%.
And you don't just paint the rosy picture. You say it's going to be hard work. Particularly the first couple of years. So it's one of the best responses I've heard in doing the show such a long time. So if you can look into a crystal ball, whether the crystal ball, Sergei, is like 1 year or 3 years or 5 years down the road, I mean, where do you see the Kaminskiy brand, Sergei? You've kind of hinted at some of the things, but maybe you could expand a little bit.
4 years, we want to be in 300 to 400 different locations throughout the United States, right? With the care and repair handyman business. Under the Kaminskiy brand, we're going to have different branches. So when you think of jacuzzi, you think of a hot tub jacuzzi, right? But jacuzzi is a brand.
Right.
I want Kaminskiy to be associated with everything home improvement, right? So we want to be able to have the Kaminskiy Care and Repair handyman. We want to have the Kaminskiy kitchen and bath, Kaminskiy HVAC, everything, like Kaminskiy mold remediation, restoration, anything to do with home improvement, property improvement. We want it to be a Kaminskiy brand there. And so, globally recognizable brand, right? Because right now we're doing national expansion, but next on the horizon is going to be Canada, and then we're going to see what other countries we want to go into next. Because anywhere that there are properties that need to be maintained, a Kaminskiy location could be there for sure, right? And without a doubt.
That's wonderful. What's the best way, Sergei, for our listeners to get more information on, the Kaminskiy brand, or any websites? I know Instagram's a big one for you, but any websites or any phone numbers you want to give to our listeners to get more information?
Absolutely. So they can go on Kaminskiy.com. Kaminskiy is IY on the end, Kaminskiy.com. That's the Kaminskiy Group website. Under there, they will see the Kaminskiy Care and Repair, and they can click on that. Or they can go on KaminskiyCareandRepair.com and then go under franchising, and there's a whole franchising page there that's going to tell them more about the franchise opportunity.
That's fantastic. Well, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking to you, Sergei.
Coming up in our next segment, we'll be playing a clip from our Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews, an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship.
Through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising.
And our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisors, franchisees, franchise authors, experts, and attorneys. And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919.
That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. And today's podcast is being brought to you by Diamond Financial Services. And if you're looking for a loan to finance your franchise, simply click the Diamond Financial Services logo below. Today's podcast, you're going to get to hear from a legend in entrepreneurship and franchising, and that's Michael Gerber. And we've had Michael on the show 2 times up to this point, and the first time we had him on the show, Don and I were amazed at the amount of emails we received and listeners, and it was really overwhelming and incredibly fun at the same time. One of the questions that we commonly ask on every show is, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? And naturally, Michael's response was brilliant. So,
yeah, I think before that, Mike, I think a lot of people listening might be a little surprised that your mom still tells you what to do.
No, that's the problem. My mom has never told me what to do. She inspires me to do things that I never thought about doing.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's tremendous. Yeah. What advice would you give to a prospective franchisee looking to buy a franchise, Michael?
Well, first of all, understand what you want. It has less to do with the franchise than it does with you. What is it truly important to you to do? This whole new emergence of the dreaming room, for example, really revolves around the idea that struck me that this is the age of the new entrepreneur. And the new entrepreneur is very, very much different than the one who preceded him. The new entrepreneur is more interested in a business that has meaning, not just money. So the whole question for the new entrepreneur or the one who wants to buy a franchise is really, so what's the meaning of this? What's the impact of this on the world? When we begin to look at the world and really realize that the world is in dreadful shape, you wonder then how I, in a business of my own, could have some kind of impact that would add value to the world. So I'd begin to look at franchises from that perspective. What's the value of the franchise? Presuming that I'm going to be successful, what is the value? What do I deliver that has value to my customer? What pride do I get from what it is I'm doing? What am I adding of benefit to the world as opposed to subtracting from the world, presuming, again, I'm going to be successful? So the first thing is, what does this company mean? What is the true meaning of this? And what's the impact and import of it? For me in my life, I'm going to die one day, and I'm going to probably die inside my business. And what I'd like to ask myself is, will I be proud of the fact that I devoted the rest of my life to doing this?
Right.
Would I want to say this to people I love? Would I want to say this to my kids? What am I going to say to them when I describe what I've chosen to do with the years of my life that I'm going to do it in? Because, in fact, you're going to spend the rest of your life in this business or in something very much like it. The second thing I would ask, once I've decided that, yes, this is a worthy thing to do for me, a human being, how organized is this thing that I'm going to do? How organized is it? Does it have a truly kick-ass breakthrough system for doing what it needs to do, which is attract people to it as customers, which is convert those people into active customers and paying customers, and ability to convert those customers into clients, meaning they come back again and again and again and again. So I want to build or buy that capability, or I'm going to then need to build it for myself.
Wow, it's a great. We've been asking that question now since we started the show, Michael. We never got such a great response.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so really, don't jump into anything quickly. Do your due diligence, and that's a good point. I mean, this might be something you've been doing for a long time. Are you going to be proud of telling people this is what you do?
Proud, yeah.
I mean, Marty, you and I have talked about people just can't jump into something that sounds great. They got to
exactly
they have to go more deeply into their own motivation,
right?
And that's the thing that's missing almost all the time. Essentially, the prospective franchisee, the guy, the woman who decides they want to buy a business opportunity, essentially they go out there, and the one who pitches the deal the best gets the deal. And I'm essentially saying it's got to turn around the other way. The one who's going out becomes more thoughtful about what I'm looking for, as opposed to simply going out and looking for a good business to run.
Right, absolutely.
So that right there might be a strong characteristic of it.
Those are very deep words from Michael. Is talking about the whole, what is this franchise going to mean? How do
I want to be remembered. So, again, it's going very deep into that question, but again, it's one of the best responses I think we've had up to this point. And again, it is Michael Gerber. He's sold millions of copies. His latest book is Awakening the Entrepreneur Within, and we had Michael on the show several months ago, and we spoke about the book. And again, he's going to be in Great Quotes and Franchising on several locations. It was hard to decide which one we were going to use first, but this was it. So again, you're going to see Michael again in a couple other editions of Great Quotes and Franchising. That day that we did the show, following us, actually became a friend to the show, Ken Six, who hosts a show called Arbor Talk with Peter Felix. And Ken was also a big fan of Michael Gerber. Here was Ken's reaction following the show. And again, we'll leave you with that. And we'd love to hear your feedback on this edition of Great Quotes and Franchising. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Here we go.
Inventor of the resistograph. And this is, well, need I say more, Joe? We've got a jam-packed show. Joe, you got to get Marty back on the line. I think that was Michael Gerber on his show.
That was Michael Gerber.
I tell him to call in. That guy he wrote the E-Myth.
He did.
We need Marty to come in for about a minute.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Let me work on that.
If you're listening, Marty, call us up.
All right, we'll do. All right.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hey, it's Jenny Garth here. The talk around GLP-1s is inescapable these days, but are you familiar with Future Health? They've made accessing qualified doctors who specialize in GLP-1s easier than ever before. My friend has struggled with their weight for many years. It was always up and down. She tried fad diets, never saw lasting results. So she started using GLP-1s. And not only did the weight come off, but she also gained more energy to do all those activities that she loved the most. I'm all about feeling my best and living my life in a healthy way. It's incredible how science is able to help us achieve that healthy lifestyle that we are all striving for. Future Health gives millions of people affordable access to knowledgeable providers who really know weight loss medications for less than $3 a day. Find out if weight loss meds are right for you in 3 minutes at tryfh.com. That's tryfh.com.
Tryfh.com.
Future Health is not a healthcare service provider. Meds are prescribed at provider's discretion. Results may vary. Sponsored by Future Health.
It can get lonely climbing Mount McKinley, so to entertain myself, I go to ChumbaCasino.com. At Chumba Casino, I can play hundreds of online casino-style games for free, like online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Plus, I get a daily login bonus. It's just too bad that up here, I don't have anyone to share my excitement with. Woohoo! Woohoo!
Live the Chumba life. Anytime, anywhere. Play for free now at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.